Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is January 15th, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. We appreciate you being here. Oh, that cut off early. Forgot to
Yeah, that was weird.
No, zero fade on that one. That's okay. that's an extra button in StreamYard that you have to hit every single day you come in. You have to resubmit that button. So I didn't hit it. But welcome. We've got Beth, we've got Aaron, Robert, Brian. So we got a little over. We got quorum. We've got a little over half the crew today. Some people are out. And today is kind of like we weren't expecting to do this show. We sort of decided to do this at the last minute, and that's to talk even more about teams for ChatGPT. And the reason for that is, unfortunately, it's because it's not great. And so we thought it would be helpful to our audience. I had written a post on Saturday morning. I sat down and wrote this whole long post that was so long that I had to continue it in the comments. And I kind of walked away with it. And my wife said, "Oh, what have you been doing?" Because I got up early. And I said, "Oh, I just wrote this long post." I said, "I hope it helps one person." I said, because this has been a super frustrating last 24 hours trying to use Teams. And it actually, that post has gotten a lot of feedback. So I thought, okay, this is definitely something people care about. People are maybe on the fence about thinking about, should I take that next step? We now have this in between ChatGPT Plus, the paid account, and Enterprise, which was unnecessary and out of reach for 99.9% of businesses. So now they came up with Teams. You go, great. This seems like it's going to solve a lot of my Teams problems, but maybe it will, but it's not currently. So that's just sort of the idea of this conversation today, is just trying to share as much information as we currently have. Maybe it'll change tomorrow. But before we get into the specifics, just to open this up to you guys, I have to say I'm disappointed. Like, I feel like, okay, OpenAI said from Dev Day that they're going to delay their store for custom GPTs. You go, okay, great. You need more time to do it. And they released it and without a whole lot of fanfare, and it kind of works exactly what you want to do. And we want it to be a little better and be easier to search for things like the old plugin store and stuff like that. But Teams, we didn't have any knowledge of it dropping. So it wasn't like OpenAI was under any pressure to be like, we said this was going to come out. It came out of nowhere, as far as I know, unless you guys had a heads up. So why put something out there that clearly, and it's not just me, it's clearly breaking for people around the country, around the world? Like, why put that out there? Is it just
did you actually, I want to start with the basic premise, because I haven't used it. I'd love it if you could, Brian, explain exactly what is the functionality. Why would it be something that a person like yourself or your team says, yeah, let's sign on board right away? And my first gut, and this is something I was talking to a client about it, because a lot of their team members don't have ChatGPT. And I thought, well, then this new business one just came out just recently, and go for it. And that allows you to pay for $25 a month and have 5 of your team members, because a minimum of 2, to be on the team. Is that the function? Is that the purpose of this software, this plan?
So I'll tell you exactly. Yeah, you kind of hit some of it, and I'll add a few more in there. The draw for me for Scaled, right? I literally did talk to I turned and I was like, wrote an email to my CEO, Jake, and I was like, hey, Teams just came out. Literally on Monday of last week, I created this custom GPT to solve an internal problem with one of my coworkers. Wrote a different coworker who works over in London, and she's like, I'm having trouble reading this transcript. Okay, what's the limit? Oh, I don't know. It's telling me I'm capping out or whatever. I get that she sends me the transcript from the call. She's like, I want an outline, I want summary, right? And I want action items out of it. I was like, I'm just going to create a custom GPT. Right? An hour later, custom GPT solves the problem. I send it back to my coworker and I go, boom, hey, just FYI, remember you're going to need the paid account. Comes back to me. I have the free account, and so does the other woman that was in London. Oh, I also had the free account. So I just created something that was inusable for 2 of my coworkers that didn't solve the actual problem because I basically gated them out. Well, here comes Teams, right? And you go, oh, we can now share custom GPTs. This is going to be great, and share internal stuff. Also, to answer your question, Robert, they also promised, which is there, an increased usage limit. So just FYI right now, if you're using GPT-4, even on the Plus account, Beth, I always get this wrong, but I believe it's 30 every 3 hours or 40 every 3?
40. 40.
40.
40.
Yeah. 40
Oh,
messages, 40 prompts, if you will, 40 enters every 3 hours. And I cap out on that all the damn time. So I was like, great. Well, they upped it. They said with Teams, it's going to be 100 per 3 hours. Well, that's a significant improvement. Also, one of the biggest things for me is they will not train on your data just like enterprise. They said, hey, like when you sign up for enterprise, we out the gate do not train on your data at all in the Teams whatsoever. Great. It's got like SOC 2 compliance to it, which meets a lot of EU regulation stuff. Fantastic. That is a big issue for some of my clients. So here you go, and you say, okay, I have teammates at I have team members at Scaled who are using just the free account, and here comes this Teams, and for 25, let's just call it $30 a month because that's the month to month.
Before I forget, what was the cap again that it went from 40 every 3 hours to what?
To 100.
Whoa, okay. But for the whole
40
team
to
share.
100. Okay. So
no, I don't think
that's what.
Well, that's for the user, isn't it, Brian?
Per user.
Not for the whole thing?
Say again.
Was
so
that
it's
per user?
user, not for the whole
per
thing.
user.
Yeah.
Per user. Yeah,
Okay.
per user.
Sorry.
That's my understanding as of right now. As I say that's per user, not per team. That would actually be worse. You'd be going backwards, I think. So okay.
Sorry, just to belabor this point, are you saying the 100 is the new limit for your GPT regular, not for the teams?
No, just the Teams.
So if you're a regular GPT, or pro, whatever.
No, I'm going to get into that because here's the thing, Robert. Here's the first thing I learned when I signed up. It is separate. I could share my screen and show it. It is a individual. And then you have access to Teams. Think about it if you had an individual Slack community and somebody just invited you to another Slack community. Like we all belong to the Daily I Show Slack community. Somebody sends you an invite and you're like, oh, now I have access to this whole other area. That's exactly how it works. You toggle back and forth between your personal account or whoever sent you the sign up and the Teams account. You've been given a seat on the team. So however many seats that owner pays for, then you have Teams. So you either have your personal account, but then you go over to Teams. That's where the shared stuff are. But here's the thing that's interesting to learn. So, okay, you have two different ways this could happen. You could sign up from a pro account, from a GPT Plus account. That means you've already paid for custom GPTs. You've already done that, whatever. That $25 or $30 on the team account does not eliminate the plus. It's in addition because you're paying for a seat on the team in the team section. It has nothing to do with your personal account. That's it. So if
you could cancel your personal one then at that point.
You could.
If you wanted to.
You could.
Okay.
You can also downgrade the free, right? So here's the other thing. So I signed myself up as one of the seats because we were just doing this to test the waters. I told my boss, hey, look, for $60, we'll have this for a month and I'll be able to tell you whether this is a good idea or not. He said, yeah, go ahead and do it. It's like such a low barrier of entry. That's how I got into this. So I signed a new account that never had a GPT, never even a free one, a new email. I signed a seat. So it sends me the email. It was a little hooky, but it says, okay, now you got to sign up. And lo and behold, I have a fresh new free account. I also have the toggle to go into Teams. So on the free account, here's what you get. When I got added to Teams, I gained on the personal side access to GPT-4, which you don't have on the free account, and DALL-E and custom instructions. Or I'm sorry,
code interpreter.
Code interpreter. Thank you. But you do not get access to custom GPTs on the free side. But you do get GPT-4. Weird, right? So you do get a bump. When somebody adds you to a team and all you had is a free account, you do get a bump. You also get access to the team. Now, if I'm on the team side, I can create custom GPTs. I can see custom GPTs, but I have to be in the team account to see it. The team workspace, let's call it, to see it.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a lot going on here. Number one, for anybody that thinks that the team is going to eliminate the cost of the Plus account, it will not. Also, they do not migrate. They are completely separate, which that's not a bad thing. That's not what I thought was going to happen, but that's not a bad thing. I want my Plus account to be separate, and I want to be part of this team. Frankly, I possibly could be part of 3 teams If those three
Right.
teams are paying for me to have a seat, I haven't looked at this yet, but I would
I guess
imagine it would just be stacked, and you
So
would have
I'm-
additional teams that you could be part
I'm
of.
somewhat confused. The $25, is it per seat? $25?
Yes.
Oh, so okay. So if I had 5
25
people
or
on my
30?
team and I spend $25, they don't all get a seat for that $25. Each one of them
No,
has to have.
it's per seat.
Both, Aaron. It's $25 per seat if you pay for the year, and
Right.
it's $30 per seat if you pay monthly. And
Yeah.
the thing in that is that if you pay for the year, you cannot reduce the number of seats. You can't downgrade and get something back. You have to only downgrade at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So to Brian's point, if you are checking this out, pay the extra $5 so that you can choose whether this is something that's going to be useful for you.
Right. 'Cause
Also,
you might get rid of people.
And the other thing also is that you have to buy a minimum of 2, and this is the reason why
Correct.
I thought about signing up,
Right.
because the appeal for me was that 100 limit of 100
right.
uses per whatever, and then I realized I'd have to go from $20 a month to $60 a month, and this is US dollars, which is a lot more expensive in Australia. And I don't have a second team member, so it was kind of pointless.
Yeah.
I could literally buy 2+ accounts for less and have 80 users every 3 hours anyway. So
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
there'd be. And here's, let's just get into more of this. So this, what you're looking at on the screen, I for those that are just listening to this as a podcast, I'm just sharing my screen to talk about some of the stuff we just talked about. What, by the way, welcome to Carl. Carl just jumped in as well. Okay, what you're looking at right now is what was a non-account. It did not exist at all prior to Teams, but essentially just call it a free account. Okay, so you see Brian Masseri down here in the bottom left, and you can even see right above it, it says upgrade plan, get GPT-4, DALL-E, and more, right? If I come here though, right, I'm on the personal side of it. I do in fact have GPT-4 with the 40 message per 3 hour limit, and I also get plugins, but you'll notice what's missing is anything about custom GPTs. So I do get the better model, but I don't have anything else. Now, if I click here, here's where you can see the toggle. So there's personal account, Brian, and I'm also have a seat in the scaled team. If I click here, it actually changes the whole layout, right? So now I have Explore GPTs. You can see there's a test thread here. I'll talk about that in a second. If I drop down here, it's basically the same, but I do have this Explore GPTs just as you would expect on a paid account. So,
okay, Brian, so I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
So it appears as though when you sign up for Teams, you get a personal account that you can use for yourself that's not messing or polluting the Teams thread. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you when I invited myself as a member, I sent it to an email address, my work email address that did not have an OpenAI account at all. And it just went through the whole, you've been invited to it. I clicked on the link in the email. The email said you need to sign up for an account. It was a little hokey for a little bit with the password, but eventually it did. And when I got into it, you're seeing you would get exactly what it is, which is a fresh, brand new account that you would expect. The only difference is, for whatever reason, because I am part of the scale team, even on the personal side, I get access to the GPT-4, which you would not have if you just had a normal free account. I don't know why that's the way it is, but that's what they did.
Yeah,
So,
but just to be clear, Brian, you did that just as a testing function. You could have just sent it to your existing account to add to the team. You didn't have to create a new account, right?
Correct. And then what happens is exactly the same. You would down here, you would have all your tests, all your previous stuff. None of that would have changed. The only difference is you would have seen now that you're part of a team. So, and I did that to create the first, like owner account of that.
Gotcha. So I do want to go back. I know I feel like I'm beating the dead horse here, but just for clarity, the 100 in 4 hours, the 100 prompts you can do in 4 hours. How does that play? Is that per seat or is that per company?
Per seat.
I believe that is per seat, but as you can see here, it's not like it's telling you that. Now, if it was per company, that would be like a huge step backwards. So I cannot believe that's what they mean, but I could be wrong.
Well, it's not backwards if you're, well, I guess it is backwards. Yeah.
You can buy as many team seats as you want. So like, there's no way you've bought 5 team seats and now all of you are splitting 100 messages in 3 hours for your team.
Which
That makes
right
sense.
for your team side. That it seems ridiculous to me. So I'm going to assume that no, you do actually get more for a seat, but it's a good call out to it. Here's the biggest issue. I mean, there's several issues here. This is why this is why we had decided to have this call today, and push it to the front and talk again about teams, even though we just did it last week. It actually doesn't work. It's actually not worth the money. And here's the reason why. In the teams account from the owner side, which is just, I would have to swap screens, just assume the owner side. I have created a custom GPT. I have created 3 or 4 test threads here. You can see here, I've labeled this one test thread -member because this account is a member account. If we go to manage my workspace, we can see that there's 2 different accounts here. There's a member, there's 2 seats, 1 member, 1 owner. And I can look at both these accounts. Okay. So we're looking at the member side of things. We'll come back to that in a second because there's other issues there. I cannot see my team's chats. I cannot see the custom GPT that was created by my team member, who is the owner account. There's nothing in there. There's nothing here or anything, like shares, like externally share and things like that says that I need to toggle this on or anything like that would make you think, oh, well, you just haven't given access or priority or permission or something like that. So in my opinion, right now, what is the point of having a Teams account if I can't even see the threads of my team? If I can't even see the custom GPT that my team member created in the team space? And so when you do that, it actually asks you, if you go to explore, I'll just do one right here and I'll say create. Let's see if we can just pop one up really quick. And then if we were to,
I'll take you.
Here we go. Right here. Publish to only me.
Reminded of the Swedish chef and his accent.
Yeah. Publish to only me, anyone at the scale team, anyone with a link, everyone. So this was something that Charlie Treadwell brought up, which he said, hey, this is a real big value to me because I have proprietary data inside of my my internal ChatGPTs, and I only want my team to be able to see it. And I don't want a rogue employee to be able to just share that link as you would with like a publicly viewing custom GPT and just share that out to the world, right? And I said, oh, good point. That is actually a really good use case for teams, is this custom GPT can only be used by people who have seats on the team. But as we can see, even though the custom GPT that I created is in fact said only for the scale team, this team member.
Oh, wait, what about right there below, below featured? It says new to scaled team, recently approved or created GPTs. And they scale right, number 1 right there.
But that's not the one that he just created.
I know, but I don't think he saved it. I don't think he actually saved it to.
No, that is
so Brian,
that is correct. That's the one. Robert, you're absolutely correct.
So maybe that's where it houses it, not on the sidebar.
Well, and it may also take a little while.
It could,
yeah,
because when I'm looking at our enterprise ChatGPT, what you essentially have, if you go to, I guess enterprise is a little different because maybe they don't have the store up yet, but all I know is you will see all the GPTs that are created for the company that people have selected the share anyone with in your company.
Okay.
You'll see all of that. All of the ones are shown when you click my GPTs, right? So you'll see the ones that you personally created, then you'll see recently used, then you'll see by ChatGPT, and if you scroll all the way at the bottom, you'll see everybody's GPT. So
yeah, so I see my GPTs, and as Robert pointed out, if we go back to explore GPTs, it does actually show up as new at scale team. I was looking for it over here. I'll be the first to say I was looking for it over here. I'm like, where is it? I didn't realize that they put it here.
Can you go back to that screen again, Brian? I noticed something there.
Which one?
The one where you had just before this.
My GPTs?
Yeah, so it says there, it says only me.
Mm-hmm.
So if
he hadn't saved it to the team.
I'll say anyone at the scale team. We'll see if it shows up immediately.
Yeah.
So explore
There it is.
GPTs. Yeah.
It's on the left.
Now I don't know why this is here twice. That's weird, but it did.
Oh,
now it's
another
And now
we're just getting more of them now.
Multiplying.
I'm not sure why that's happening. Okay, let me tell you the last thing, and then we go ahead, Beth. Well, let me tell you one last thing that's an issue for me. Weirdly, there's owner, admin, member. Those are your three buckets, right? Owner, admin, member. Owner, as you would suspect, you can go in there and you can see not only like the team members, but you can also see like billing and stuff like that. Weirdly, for a member, I can go in there as a member. So anybody, Joe Blow at the company, and I can invite new people to the team. Now, every time I invite somebody, and if they accept it and the admin didn't catch it, that's $30 to the team.
Whoa.
There is no reason that the member should be able to invite new people. That should be an admin feature. The member can't block or cancel. Admin can. Admin could go in there and go, whoa, I didn't want to send that out. Cancel that pending request. But if it's accepted, OpenAI is definitely going to charge you that $30 for the next month cycle because you just accepted them. So you can increase seats, but you can't decrease them during the month. That was something OpenAI talked about. So just another weird quirk of, hey, I just signed up. This is fantastic. Scaled. We have 25 employees. I just signed up everybody because Jake and I have been talking nonstop. And we're saying you guys need to be using custom GPTs, blah, blah, blah. And like Charlie Treadwell just said, hey, it's annoying that I have to bill out and compensate all my employees who are using ChatGPT Plus because I want them to. But now I have to reimburse everybody. He's like, I just want this all consolidated underneath one team. He's right. That's also a great way to do it. But if you're going to run into, I have 25 members, and 25 members can then just go and invite new people to our team, and I may get stuck with the bill. That don't make sense to me. Why that would be a thing? It should just be an admin feature. That's what an admin would be doing. Add people, remove people. That's the admin's job. Owner has the billing things and, whether it's that kind of stuff. So, and Beth, I knew you're going to jump in. I just want to throw that one last thing in there that I find extremely weird. Now, we saw that you could see the custom GPTs being shared, which is a huge bonus. Hadn't found that. But what about the threads? What about the chats?
Right. So the other thing about just to like jump back to, you can't downgrade if you pay the 300, right? You can't downgrade until the end of the year. Your people can invite people to that level of, like, if that's the level that you bought, the people can, it's not just $30 a month, it's $300 every acceptance in that thing. I am certain they're going to come with a fix for this. This show is not, don't ever do teams. This is why you should wait. And that is a reason you should wait for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a couple things here, me included. Lots of people came into this thinking one pricing plan was going to replace another. It doesn't. So that's good to know, right? I fully expect that I would get GPT Plus, charge, as well as the Teams charge, as far as that goes. It makes sense that they're keeping them separate. I leave scaled. I don't want to lose my custom GPT Plus.
Right.
Now, if my company comes to me and says, hey, Brian, you're gone, or you're not in the team, you don't have a seat. Maybe you're not gone, but we're not going to pay for you to have a seat anymore. Yeah, I want the opportunity to continue on having my account. I mean, think about how many custom GPT.
But think about it. If you deny your seat, the company still retains all of the stuff that seat had produced as far as GPT. So it kind of is like an IP thing or keeping people from stealing. But we'll say this, not to push back, because this doesn't count as a pushback. But I feel like that, let's say nobody at the company has a GPT account. And this is perfect for it, right? If you're just now getting into this, you have 5 people that you want to give them accounts and nobody has it, not even a free version. Brilliant. You could just do $25 a seat or $30 just to test it out for 3 months. And that could be a way to dip your toe into the GPT world. But I think the way Beth was mentioning, it might not be good for existings to transition because it isn't really a transition; it's an addition.
It's also the other thing that I kind of wanted to say is that OpenAI and tech companies often in general have a way of like, okay, we got it to a certain level of functionality and now we're just going to release it and let everybody tell us how it's working. That's fine
But
for
you-
models or GPTs. That like billing is not the same, right? Like
Right.
don't release
Yeah.
billing and then
Yeah.
let everybody tell you, wow, that didn't really work.
Fail fast with billing isn't going to win you
No,
over
no,
any
no, no.
customer or clients. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Carl.
interesting. This is what I went back to now. Robbie, you would ask me, you're like, well, let's get this all out on the table. And you're right. So we sort of gone through this whole thing now, but this brings me back to the question of, and kind of like why we wanted to have this show. Number one, we want to inform people because there are people literally who are like, at least from the LinkedIn post I wrote, were like, oh, I was going to look into this like tomorrow or next
there
week.
were
I was going to put time into this.
people like that.
Yeah. So hopefully this is just helpful to people who are like, oh, you know what, Brian, you're right. I'm going to wait a week until this settles out. Why do you think this is the way OpenAI did it? Were they just not aware of some of these issues? Do they not care? Or like, I don't understand why they did it when we didn't know it was coming. So it goes back to my original question. Like, what was the rush? Literally nobody knew that I'm aware of knew the Teams was coming. Not even anything on X or anything like that it was coming.
I feel I feel one thing that they would do this is if you think about what let's take long-term approach here, right? The news has said from a enterprise level client, right? 260 enterprise clients, 150,000 users, quote unquote users. I would say a third at the most conservative, most optimistic level that people are using it regularly enterprise. But that said, think about what you're building GPTs for, using it for. You are now into an ecosystem that do you want to leave? Do you want to try any other Anthropic? Do you want to pay another $20 to Google? No. You want to stay here. We're going to take your money. We're going to lock you in. And it's like, oh, I can do all my AI stuff here. Do I need to go anywhere else? No, because I'm paying for this. Why would I go anywhere else? And so that's why I feel like they'll figure all this stuff out eventually. You know, they'll add all the features that we're looking at, the billing. But I was like, you're locked in. You're locked in. Like, right? Like, why would, when Gemini comes out and you have to pay an extra $20 a month, you're like, well, I'm paying for this. I'm paying for enterprise. Why would I go? What is the rationale for me to go to somewhere else?
And so I want to say that's exactly what I was thinking, Carl. And to piggyback on that, this happened exactly the same time, but this one was as a leak. And then Greg Brockman just kind of shoveled around and said, oh, by the way, GPT can now learn from your chats. And it's exactly what you're saying. They're trying to get ahead. To answer your question, Brian, I think they're doing this before it's quite ready to get ahead of the waves that are coming of trying to get people. Like Perplexity is trying to pull people, and Google wants to pull people, and Microsoft wants to pull people all into the ecosystem.
Oh,
we lost you, Rob. We lost you.
Like that microphone.
Yeah, like the mic unplugged or something. You're muted at the moment.
Okay, so that's the key, is that they're trying to keep everybody in the ecosystem. That's what I'm.
Okay, so yeah, I've got a confession to make, which ties into this subject exactly. So I actually found a use for Bard, God forbid. I just started exploring.
There is no use for Bard. What are you talking about?
No, that's only because you're in Canada and they don't like you Canadians. No, so what happened? So I'm doing AI video for clients, and I use ChatGPT to help write scripts and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't really getting a great result, even with the Plus account for one particular client. And it occurred to me that I wonder how it would perform if I tried something like Bard, because the beauty of Bard is it's connected to the Google search engine. So I'm looking for more real world data into it. And just so you know, it's the property investment space. So it's a real estate client. So I went to Bard, threw in my prompts, so similar to what I was using in ChatGPT. Very impressed with what I got back, like useful information, topical, accurate, Even the text itself, like the copywriting, is not bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to win an award, but it's actually producing a better result for this particular client than ChatGPT. So I guess that ties into the idea that, OpenAI just wants to get everyone on board before somebody like me goes off and says, well, you know what, this Bard's pretty good, or Claude is pretty good, etc. So,
Yeah.
I will say Bard is faster from a YouTube. Like if you wanted a YouTube summary, it's just at YouTube and just summarize this and they'll give it to you. Although sometimes the summary isn't as good as, because they have all the connections to, right? They have I forgot what it's called, extensions. They have all of the extensions to the Google products, right? So I would imagine that's all gonna come out. But like if you're locked into this, if you're locked into enterprise, that's it, right? You're like, okay, I have all of my AI needs into one space. I don't need to, and I can't, like, it's not like I can take my GPT and put it into Bard or put it into, right? Yeah. I'm not going to do that. Like you could by copying instructions and stuff. But
yeah.
That's a lot of work for a lot of people.
And you have to look at the end user, right? Like, sure, we talk about this all the time, but we know, case in point, I talked about it earlier in the show. I have two coworkers. Now, we're only a team of 25. There's no way you could miss me or my CEO, Jake, talking about AI at my company scaled, right? I mean, we're probably like beating people over the head with it, right? At our company, whatever. But I still had two coworkers who were like, I have the free account. I mean, I don't know. It's fine. I go in there, I use it from time to time. And I think that's 1000% exactly the way it is probably across the board. That's a very common use case. So I agree with you. You get them in this system, you train them on this system. It's the same reason any data analytics program is like, hey, you can use it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days for free. Why? Because you would have just spent all that time putting the data in there. And in 90 days, they're hoping you go, I'm not going to do this again. I kind of don't like the program, but that was a lot of work and they already have the data and I'll just stay, And so I think you have a really good point, Carl, which is like, if I'm the guy and I'm building custom GPTs and I'm solving real world problems, I allow the transcription custom GPT, which in an hour, maybe 2 hours, by the time I customized it, I solved a problem for my coworker. And I even showed her the result that I was like, is this what you're looking for? Her answer was like, oh my God, yes. Like, yes. Can I do this for any transcript? I was like, literally any transcript, this will do for you. All you'd have to do is plug it and play in it. Go forth, share it with the team, right? Yeah. So you look at it and you go, wow, that's a lot of power. But you're right, Carl. If they get me in this system and I'm so used to building custom GPTs and the end user is comfortable with the system, you're staying. It's going to be tough for a Claude or Anthropic rather, or a Google. I'm not saying they won't. I'm not saying there won't be other solutions or similar things to custom GPTs in 2024. I'm sure they will. But you're right. OpenAI has a real big head start, and they start locking people into these team accounts or enterprise. That's a great move.
I still don't think this is where it's going to be a year from now. I think this is all kind of fun and playful, but it's not scalable. Like all the stuff that you mentioned, the GPT you created, I don't think it's where we're going to be playing a year from now. So this is good. This is like one of those stair steps to get us to the next level of the technology. But it's going to be pushed to the side. I think it's just kind of another iteration. But yeah.
Again, I think this is, and this is nothing. I'm not like some this is what Sam Altman said at Dev Day, which is like, we're building agents, but there's several steps that need to happen before we can get to full agents. This is one of them. Custom GPTs is one of them. They'll only get more connected. They'll only be able to go out through actions and be more easily customizable. They'll connect anything through Zapier, anything through Make. People are already starting to do that. So you're going to have custom GPTs that can do any set of automations and multiple ones in more of a agent-like fashion. And I think that's just a matter of time, like, the next 6 months, matter of time, where custom GPTs aren't just internal facing. They're now like, oh, I go do this transcript and stuff, and immediately sends it to my coworkers in Slack or whatever. And it just continues to solve more problems like that. So,
right. So the idea that we're not going to be playing in this space, this isn't how we're going to be playing. I think that doesn't mean don't do this step as a business, right? Yeah. All of the steps that you're taking to get you to this solution are still going to be useful, and especially if it's being automated by the by everything. Like it will be very helpful that you knew what the steps were under the hood when it's being automated. So
but if you're an entrepreneur in Canada or Australia trying to make money on these GPTs, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
or really anywhere outside the US.
I'll read it specifically. As a first step, US builders will be paid based on user engagement with their GPTs. So,
and by the way, we're not telling you how much we're going to pay you. So
yeah, on user engagement, but still, I just wanted one more for Carl to
yeah,
for Canadians.
Well, listen, we probably should wrap this. We should probably wrap this one up. We're at 35 minutes. So look, I hope that if you listen to this, you know, it's January 15th. It's MLK Day here in the States. If you're off today, like I'm off today, and you listen to this, and I hope this is super helpful. I don't want to dissuade people from teams. I think it's a good solution. We needed an in-between between the Plus accounts and Enterprise. It was way too far of a leap. So there had to be something in the middle that makes sense. Robert, I think you make a good point. If you have a team, if you're the only one that has a Plus account, and you have a team of 10, 15 people who have either basic accounts or no accounts, and you've been looking for a reason to bring everybody in, you want to do some internal training, you want to start, you're like, look, we've got to get people trained up and on AI literacy inside our company. Okay. You're right. There's really no harm. If you were going to pay the money for a Plus account, I would forego that. I would just send out my emails. I would buy 10 seats. I'd pay my either $25 or $30 an hour or a month, whether it's annual or monthly. And I would simply invite those people and say, hey, we're all going to work on this together. If you've got a bunch of people who are already in silos, who are already doing their own thing, like 10, 15 people who all have GPT Plus accounts, meaning they were already paying, or in my case, like I just bill it to my company. So they pay my Plus account. Well, now you have a choice, because now the CEO or the owner has to come and say, hey, Brian, we're adding you as a seat. As of February 1, we will no longer cover the cost for your Plus account. You are free to downgrade, or you're free to pay for it your own, but the company will no longer, because we've replaced it with a team seat. This is what we're doing.
Great. Let's be clear. I have to mention this. This is important. Is it worth the $10 premium? Like basically what you're doing is it's to get 10 people in your team that all have Plus accounts that you're paying for as a company. This came out. Oh, thank goodness. Now I can put them under one roof. But is it worth the $10 premium to have them talk to each other, to have them be visible? And is it worth it extra?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think you got to get
GPTs, and they want to keep it internal and private. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, like Charlie Treadwell mentioned.
If you could do this, if you could do this with one seat, Aaron and I would 100% have paid the extra $10 for the extra for the 100 for the extra 60 of GPT-4. That's worth it, right?
Yeah.
It's just not worth like the extra $40 to have two seats with one person.
Well, it kind of raised a question in my mind about 5 minutes ago. Will OpenAI one day release an upgrade for the Plus account for single users that has more oomph, rather than having to force you into a team? So that seems like an option that they may put out one day, if nothing else, than to make more moolah.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's a lot of, like I said, I run up to, not every day, but I do run up to that 30 limit on my Plus account all the time, probably twice a week, I would say at this point, because I'm using ChatGPT more and more and more often. All right. Thanks, Gwen, for coming in. She said, listening, happy day off. And then she also said, if they aren't into AI yet, why not just stay with Microsoft Copilot? Okay, well, we'll have to leave that for another topic, because that will take much longer to get into. It's a great question, Gwen. And I think Microsoft Copilot should actually, now that you say it, should absolutely have its own show. So great idea. And we'll put that on the docket for probably next week, honestly, because that's a great topic to dive deeper into. Okay, the rest of this week, if you haven't yet, go check out the interview we did with Nicole Laffer. That's already out and live. She is an AI expert when it comes to CMOs in marketing. Go check out that episode. We also have a new episode or new interview that's going to come out this week with Amanda Bickerstaff. She is the CEO of AI for Education. Cannot wait to have that conversation, and we'll get that live. Also this week, we're going to be talking about, we'll do the news on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about AI in government, and there's been some recent stories about, like in Pennsylvania, where they're using AI more in government. That's really interesting. We're going to talk about AI in your cars, not just like what Tesla is doing, but also, Carl, you brought it up, like AI and ChatGPT being like in your dashboard. So we're going to talk about how cars are really just AI robots, or they're going to be, or they're sort of that, right? So, and then we're also going to talk about scams. That's rising in, that's a bigger and bigger issue. You're well versed in that stuff. So that'll be on Friday, I believe. Got lots of stuff coming up this week. Go check them all out. Come back and hang out with us. Check out the interviews. We're going to be doing lots more of those in 2024. If you have suggestions of people you think we should be interviewing, let us know, and we will do our best. But yeah, I think this is great. Thanks for all the questions, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Whoa. Is that our record?
Maybe.
Yeah.